from Hawaii with the True Vine, a 508c1a nonprofit ministry in Hawaii. Today so much to share. I'm sharing supernatural truths, absolutely the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me Yah, the Most High God, and Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ. So these are miracles, signs, and wonders, and testimonials of folks that have come through our ministry that God put into our lives. Nobody else literally came through divine design, not through Craigslist, not through, well, kind of, sort of, but she'll explain that. But I'm just going to interview one of the youngest, newest people in our ministry who the Most High God, Yah, brought to us. She's a lot to share, and we've got a short time to get her case together and help her understand who she is, what's been done to her, and how to get restored, redeemed, and set free in the Most High Yeshua Jesus' precious name. So with that, I want to introduce my new friend. We're only gonna do first names, that's all. And she's just gonna speak from her heart. Jenny, is any of this scripted at all, or have we talked about it, or we're just doing it right off the cuff?
None of this is scripted at all, so please forgive us if it's kind of all over the place. We're just going with the flow.
So, Jenny, so you might want to just cut my group that follows my YouTube channel.
Yes.
They know that I grew up in the system. My father was a bar attorney,
Yes.
which means an esquire, which means he took an oath to something outside the people in the U.S.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if they were conscious of it or unconscious of it. I still don't know about that part, but
Yes.
when that all happened as a child, and ever since I was a child, I felt we lost our dad to the system because all of that was more important to him, of playing a game and looking good, than being a good father and raising his own children and being there for us emotionally, spiritually, and especially spiritually, to guide us. Because the fathers are the ones who are held accountable to rule and reign in their own household.
Yes.
But fathers lose control, and the wife will leave if he's not following God's word. If he's following me, myself, and I, narcissistic society, things don't work. So, but with that being said, I'd like you to just share your first name. You don't have to say the name of your daughter or anything.
Okay.
You can just tell your story of, like, I don't know if you want to start with early childhood, but this is part of your transformational journey testimony, and we're writing all the documentation to go along with your story, improving with evidence who you are, and what you're not. So with that being said, where would you like to start on the journey of sharing your story?
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that, Ahava. And I would just like to say that I'm sorry that your father chose his reputation and his job over family, because I think family is always the number one most important thing.
Me too.
Yes.
So where do you want to start or feel comfortable telling other people out there who may have somehow got themselves trapped in the system, kind of like you, by accident or default, didn't really know what happened. It happened so quick, and all of a sudden your baby's gone, and then you're caught in this nightmare for the last 4 years. I just, because I experienced this, like I said, 25 years ago, and I know that pain and trauma. And I think that's having had a ministry since I've been on Oahu for the last 20 years, and just chasing after Yeshua, Jesus, and trying to help young people like yourself. My passion is for how do we make the system better? But then on my journey, I learned how the system was really run. And with that being said, I couldn't, you can't participate in a system that's upside down, inverted, backwards, and fraudulent. So I've learned there's two jurisdictions. There's God's jurisdiction and there's man's jurisdiction. The Bible is 100% clear. You can't serve two masters. Yet the whole world, it says this too in the Bible, in the end, the whole world would be deceived. So I'm grateful now, looking back, that even though it was a huge sacrifice losing my dad to the system, I saw firsthand the pain of living in these two worlds, like the secret world that controls everything, and then the results of how the system works and how it creates fear, it creates trauma, it creates PTSD, and it creates all this stuff of like why you're now with me, and I get the joy actually of reparenting you and trying to let Yeshua Jesus make you whole so we can go get your baby Apple and everybody be made whole in Christ. So, yeah, so like just maybe want to share with people how all this, I don't know if you want to go back as far as your early background in high school or college, or how you felt maybe confused or set up in the world or the system to have this happen, or do you want to just start with wherever you want to start and tell your story?
Um, um,
You got to speak up this so they can hear
maybe
you.
I will share just a little background, backstory, a little story,
Mhm.
I guess. Yeah, so growing up, I was very sheltered growing up, and uh, yeah, both my mom and dad constantly would talk about how important it is to go to school, go to college, get a good job, have a career that pays well so that I can take care of my family one day. This type of, I guess, teaching was always like instilled in my mind at a really young age, so I was always told like what to do and like how I should live my life and stuff like that, which I don't disagree with at all, but in a way it made me very, I think like passive, I guess, um, and I ended up in a relationship where I was with someone who, I guess we had disagreements, and we would fight, and sometimes the relationship was not very healthy. Um, at times it was a bit toxic, but we ended up having a child together. Um, this is my first child, by the way, and the CPS got involved and took our child away when she was just a baby, and we've been in this court case for 4 years now, and it's in its final stages, meaning that, you know, they're ready to terminate my parental rights. But they took away our child based off of like assumptions and not very solid basis.
Was any of it truthful, or was it all assumptions and presumptions?
To be honest, all of it was assumptions from the very beginning. There was nothing that was ever proven, and it got it escalated only because in the time that we had the court case, I've lost my housing, I've not had anywhere to go, I had to separate from the father of my child, and it's dragged. This court case, what should have only been like maybe a year, took 4 years, and still is happening still right now. It's still going on. And
Do you think it's 4 years because they said that's not normal? They're usually over within 2 years.
yes,
So they said, but 2 years was COVID, so everything got really messed up. But
yes,
I feel like it's by the grace of God that it took this long, Jenny.
yes,
Because do you want to tell them like how that I mean, this whole sequence of events of how you and I met through your friend through Craigslist,
oh yes,
but he found it on Craigslist, but just might want to tell the story because
okay,
this is all the truth, and I am here as a witness, as the producer and director and the head pastor of our ministry, which is a 508c1a
yes,
nonprofit, where we get to have freedom of speech because that's in our rights under a 508.
Yes.
So we are exercising our freedom of rights to express her truth and documented testimony publicly as we write her journal for her court case
Yes.
to prove who she is, what she is, and what has happened to her through assumption and presumption. So we're here to help heal Jenny. And I told her, I said, I feel like we're rewriting your life, we're rewriting your story. And I feel like I've just witnessed it a few days ago. She got her brand new JOB, which she's been working on for a while, is trying to manifest a job. And I said, this is Jenny, enjoy. And as soon as she got the job, she was like a completely different person. It was so much light because she had hope again. And that's what I think the system, by nature, of just how it's set up, is to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what the Word of God says. They come to kill, steal, and destroy. What are they destroying? Your spirit. So that when you don't have the will or the hope, and the Bible says hope deferred, it's like hope deferred destroys and kills you.
Yes.
So what Jenny really needed and what we're proposing through this document, this is her testimony of the literally of the harm that she has mentally gone through, because the state declares us all as the state is our guardian. Most people don't know that, but if they're still Jenny's guardian through the legal system and the SETA KV trust and the Social Security trust, how would you rate them as parents taking care of not just Apple? I don't even want to talk about Apple. I want to talk about your personal experience of what you've experienced from day one. You might even want to say who reported you or how this happened, and how the state has just come up and like swooped in and just like literally just took over your life. Like it's like coming in the door. And did you invite them in the door, or did they just come and say they have the authority to be there? So that's what I want to get from your own testimony of the truth of how the whole thing rolled out. Oh, yeah.
Maybe it'll cut that part out.
Oh, shoots. Did I say? Okay, sorry. Okay.
Just for her
Yes. Okay, so go ahead. Do you want to just share what, like, the little background of?
Yes. What was the question?
Well, just like when this all happened to you,
Yes.
right? How did they come into your life? You had shared the other day with me, you had been talking to a therapist and they shared,
Yes.
and that's what happened. So, did you give the therapist any authority to go and do that, or did she just
No.
do it?
Not at all. So, I was together still with the father of my child still. We were still in this relationship during this time, and I was speaking to a therapist during that time, and she had, asked about how my home life is and how things are going at home with, our relationship and stuff like that, and I kind of was being really, really open with her and told her, like, I wasn't feeling too happy just because we had been fighting during that time. And she asked me if I feel safe at home, and I told her that sometimes I feel like I'm being emotionally abused. And then, next thing you know, I think she just sort of jumped the gun and she called CPS, and our baby got taken away right after. And it happened really, 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 it happened really fast. And um, she actually ended up leaving the island, so she actually left her job and disappeared after, because I think maybe she felt kind of bad, and she told me that she didn't mean to have, our child be taken away, that she just wanted to help, was what she said.
So do you feel, if you don't mind, I'm trying to interview, so
Yes.
like for anybody who's trying to understand this whole, because I'm still learning, you guys. Jenny, this is her first, she wanted to do like a testimonial for herself,
Yes.
so we could watch this herself and have it back up with her true, so her true documented, you know, we're doing like interrogatories or questioning you. So you can have it for yourself to put in your writing of your documents when you write your testimony. So when you were sharing all this with your therapist,
Yes.
did you tell your therapist that you felt fearful for your life or for the child's life?
I never said fearful for my child's life, but I did say sometimes that I felt unsafe.
Okay.
Emotionally, I said.
But physically, did you feel fear?
No, physically.
That you didn't tell them anything about physically fearing, just emotionally?
I remember clearly that I told her that I was feeling emotionally hurt by my partner's behavior towards me. I never mentioned anything about being fearful for like my child or anything like that.
So that's what I'm saying about overreach, because about privacy and like through, because the system, if you tell them you're suicidal or you've got this or you've got that, like I've been a pastor forever, so I've heard it all.
Right.
And they'll just automatically take you away because you might have said the wrong word and you weren't even really thinking that, but you just said.
Yes.
So you see how the legal system works is their words and your words are not ever going to be in sync.
Yes.
And people aren't taught this. They're not taught that they've given up by mom entering into sin. I say sin, social insurance number. Like literally, it's an acronym for social insurance number.
That is a great one.
But mom doesn't know
Yes.
that she's entering into this hidden contract,
Yeah.
and her baby is now being pledged on Wall Street
Yeah.
with $1 million worth bond and then sold for its future labor. Mom doesn't have any freaking idea of that. Did you know that? Like when you went and gave birth at the hospital, did you know when you signed that?
I had no idea at all.
I mean, has anybody even ever before God, the Most High, intersected our lives,
Yes.
which is all supernatural too? So this is what I'm saying. The lady even said, like, it's taken 4 years. Well, and she said mostly 2 years because of COVID. So that's a blessing because it took that long for me and the whole law team that's been studying from God's holy, most high angel force of really smart people,
Yes.
collectively being brought together so that we could know the knowledge that we need to succeed in taking back our power and authority Christ said we have. Because they've dumbed everybody down so much and they're so fearful. Like I've watched you go from when you got your brand new job to like a whole different person to when you start getting stressed out with the whole court stuff. You go into like the small Jennie, and I think it's because like I've seen it. You seem like this whole thing is just about destroyed you emotionally and spiritually. I'd like to talk about from day one your interfacing. Have you felt like social services or CPS was there for you as well? Or even like you said, I don't even feel like they really, it's about the love of the children. They're just following orders,
Yes.
doing whatever the system tells them to do. But the reason all this stuff doesn't really work is because there's no love in it.
Yes, exactly.
That's totally it.
And honestly, out of the 4 years that I've been in this situation involved with CPS, I have never, not once, felt like they were helping me or my child.
Or trying.
Or even trying. Instead, I've always felt like they were actually ripping our family apart and making my life as hard as possible. Like, as the most difficult that they could possibly make it.
They do. And it's by design, so you'll break. They want to give, see, the SETA KV trust, the baby bond that's attached to the baby that all moms sign when they're in the hospital. By the way, all you guys, it's unlawful and illegal because when you sign that, every mom is either under major stress from just having a baby. Her hormones are all over the place.
Yes.
Most of them have an epidural, so there's a lot of drugs still in their body.
Yes.
They even tell you when you go home, be careful because, you just had a baby.
I had a birth naturally, no epidural or pain medication of any kinds.
Well, but what I'm trying to say is, even if you did all of that natural, your hormone levels are still going to be crazy. And you have a lot of people go right into postpartum depression after because their hormones are freaking. So to sign a legal contract that you're not even aware of what you're doing with your baby's birth certificate, what would that be if you don't have any clue what you're doing? That would be called fraud from your very inception. And
Yes, well, it's quite malicious, honestly.
it's not just malicious, it's a benevolent, it's a been just really, really dark agenda.
How many parents don't know about this? Don't have
99% don't know about this.
And they're all signing a piece of paper because that's what we're told to do.
Yeah, but you guys, the point of what I'm trying to teach you guys in our mommy boot camp,
Yes.
we're calling it mommy boot camp because Jennie, I can tell, very much needs a mother figure in her life. And I think we should talk about that because that's also held up some of your case because you can't bring your family members into it. But let's talk about how, as you're going through the most emotional time of your life, you have absolutely no support from the government's absolutely no support. They're, as you said, the antagonist in the show here.
Yes.
And your parents, who you think are going to have your back and help you.
Yes.
Let's talk about the hurt of what you've actually had to endure, not just from the boyfriend and all of that trauma, to them taking the baby, to now you're doing this all by yourself. And every time you think you've got something going to work out, they take it away and put you right back into the washing machine cycle. And then Kainani said to me, who do you think? Oh, okay. Well, the social worker, she basically comes, or I come into her life at the last minute because of God. No, I mean, let's just try not to. I mean, it's all true. Everything we're saying is an absolute truth testimony. But the point is, we're just trying I want to get this documented for you so when we're writing your testimonial of what you've gone and the harm, because you have a case for harm that they've caused you, emotional, financial, threatening, scaring you to death, you're going to lose your daughter, and that they actually have the power to take away your parental rights. No, you're going to take away all of their rights to touch you or them, because basically what they're doing is unlawful and illegal once you tell them who you are.
Yes, and it's terrifying as well because you almost feel like everything is just completely out of your control.
But then God shows up.
And you feel like there's nothing you can do because your child or children are not with you. And so it's hard because you feel like you don't know if there is anything you can do. It's scary. It's really scary. And say if there's an accident that ever happens with your child or children, just knowing that law enforcement wouldn't be able to do anything is terrifying. It makes you feel really helpless as a parent.
So have they pressured you to try to get you to already give up your parental rights already?
My lawyer has pressured me to do that, yes.
Your lawyer, Emiko?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
How many times has she done that?
She's pressured me twice now to give up my parental rights.
And you've never, ever, I want that on the record, you have never, ever, at this point, ever said, no way am I ever giving up my parental rights.
I told her, absolutely not. I'm not going to give up on my child. I will not just willingly give up my parental rights unless they're forcefully taken from me.
Well, so far they have been forcibly taken from you.
Yes.
But you haven't, the Bible also says, in the end, which we're in the book of Revelation right now,
yes.
Who can stand? I think I told you this before. What does stand mean?
Stand is like,
it's a legal term, and most people don't understand in the Bible that it's a legal term. But standing is what you need to go be heard as an adult, not an infant, but an adult, born again, redeemed, set free, and able to talk for yourself in the court of law. But if we're considered babies, and trust me, you were like fresh meat, like chum out for sharks, because of your innocence and your lack of knowledge. They're like can just eat, and no support from the boyfriend or husband. He's given up automatically by default of never showing up. He doesn't. He's just not going to try for the baby.
Yes,
But
he used to be present at all the court dates, and he stopped going for the past 2 years.
so, and what happened to him to motion? Was it he just doesn't care, or was he so sick of being traumatized by the court system as well, or
Yes.
just speak your truth on what was going on?
Okay, we had this court case. The, the father of our child, he was very, very present at all the court hearings, and he tried really hard to cooperate with the CPS people. He tried really hard to cooperate with the caseworker, his lawyer, with the judge, and he got really frustrated because he would constantly ask them, how come you guys can't get us our child back? Because we've completed every service, we've done everything that we needed to do, and why is the department withholding our child from us? And he had so many questions, and I think that he was very frustrated. And he's a lot different than me. He's very outspoken. He's not afraid to talk about how he feels. He's not afraid to express his feelings. He's very, very, very outspoken about about certain things. And he would oftentimes go to the office to try to talk to the CPS people, and they would tell him to basically leave. They would call him crazy, emotionally unstable, all of these things, and he just basically just threw his hands up in the air and just was like, I give up, I give up working with these people. So he just stopped going to court for the past 2 years, and he's been defaulted for basically not showing up.
So, despite they've done the same thing to you and made your life extremely difficult,
Yes.
You've showed up for all of them except one in 4 years. Is that correct?
That is correct. I've never missed a court case. I believe
Okay.
I only missed maybe 1 or 2.
Okay, well, nobody does that unless they love their child and they're trying. What they're, like I said, Jenny, the system is, it's a money-making system. It's not for people. It's all about banking and money. And birth certificates are worth a lot of money. And they can't get into the private side of the trust unless they can capture you as you're incompetent, you're mentally ill, you're this, you're that. So that is why we're going to do everything to prove what's really going on and have it all in your logbook and publicly record beforehand, because you have been emotionally abused by the system.
Yes.
You've been taken advantage of because of your innocence, because of your lack of knowledge, because you have no money. They've used all of that as against you because you're like a easy target. I hate to say it, but that's the truth.
That's absolutely correct, Ahava. And due to my lack of resources, lack of family support, they were able to, I guess, take advantage of that situation because they knew that I was lacking resources, lacking support, lacking financial means to hire a private lawyer. And so because of that, I feel like they were able to, leverage the court's decision over parents' decision just because they knew that me as a parent didn't have the proper resources to fight back for my child.
Oh, absolutely. Just the little few seconds before I got kicked off the Zoom today, it's like you're like nobody. In fact, in their system, I'm going to just be honest, you're dead. In their system, they look at us that we're so stupid and such morons that we don't have the right to talk. That's why they say don't hire attorneys. You have to because you're innocent and you are ignorant. But you have been surrounded by so many guardian angels. You should tell your testimony of how God has actually showed up through Jerry, then Danny, then me, and now Pastor Luigi, and and Pastor Luigi just so happens to have a church on Kauai, and he just so happens to know all the pastors in Kauai. I mean, like, wow.
It's incredible.
It is totally incredible. And then today, that you were going to have to fly over there, we asked for Zoom. That no, you got denied. Then the judge doesn't show up, so we still got to do Zoom, and you got more time,
Yes.
so we can actually complete your case.
Yes.
That is slam dunk of the damages and harm. It's called harm. You've been harmed.
Yes.
Emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, and more importantly, the threat of losing your daughter. But again, on the record, have you ever indicated, which you're showing up every single time for 4 years, tells me just right there, it doesn't matter if you understand everything they're doing to you. You understand the power and bond of love, and you're never going to give up on your child. That's what I see. That's why I've asked my ministry to all pull together and help you. And every single one of them has said yes.
It's been so incredible. And thank you, Hava, for being an angel in my life. I'm so excited to share this part of how me and Hava met. So yes, things were not working out. So I was living in a different island before coming here. Should I share where we live?
You can just say West Side
Okay, so we live on the west side
of
of
Oahu.
Oahu, and I come from a different island, and things were not working out where I was at. Was really having difficulty finding housing because of my court case and because of being involved in CPS and my landlords previously not wanting to be involved with the CPS and because they were terrified that the department would take away their child because I was living in the same house as them, and they were concerned for the safety of their child, concerned for the department coming in to take away their child, and the department was concerned that I would be a threat to their child, or that their situation would be a threat to my court case, something really crazy like that. But so after pretty much a whole year of having really hard time finding housing, I basically just threw my hands up in the air and I gave up, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to move to Oahu. If it doesn't work out there for me, I'm going to give up. But I'm going to just try this one last thing, because I was praying every single day, crying every day, praying to God every single day. What do I have to lose? If it doesn't work out, then hey, at least I tried. So I went to Oahu trying to find housing. I was on Craigslist every single day, just looking for housing, and I was really short on luck. And then our friend Danny reached out to me, and he knew that I was looking for housing, and he reaches out to me and says, hey, I know this really super cool Christian family that lives on the west side, and I want to introduce you to them, and they might be able to help you. They might have a place for you to stay. And so I was like, oh, wow, I'd love to meet them. And so Danny comes to pick me up, and he takes me here to Hava's place. And that's the day that I met Hava. And she, greeted us inside the house. We all had a talk outside on the balcony. And, yeah, and I don't know, do you want to fill in Hava?
No, that was pretty much the first day. I think it was January 7th, right? That we met. And then it was short. It wasn't a really long meeting because she had to fly back to Kauai.
Yes.
So you might want to tell them how that happened.
It was a short, brief meeting. I had to fly back to Kauai because I had my visits with my child every week. And I think I may have had court or something like that. But I had to fly back literally the next day. And Ahava was kind enough to let me stay that night at her house. So I slept here for that night, and then I flew back to Kauai the next day. So I was freaking out because I had not really told Ahava about my court case, and I don't think Danny really told her about my court case.
He didn't know.
He didn't know. I didn't even tell him. And so I had court that next day, and I'm freaking out on the phone with Danny. I was like, Danny, I don't know how to tell Ahava this, but I'm so scared because, what if she doesn't want me to stay at her house, or what if she's uncomfortable with me being involved with CPS, or like, for any reason, like, you know, I don't know how she'll feel about this, if she'll still, like, let me stay with her, if she knows about my court case, I don't know, but I was like, I don't know how to tell her this, and Danny was all like, hold on, he's like, I'm really good at talking, so let me do the talking. He's like, I'm gonna explain to Hava the situation. I was like, are you sure? And I was like, you don't have to. And he's like, no, I got it. He's like, let me talk to Hava about this situation and see what she says. So while I'm at my court hearing, I start court in like an hour, and Danny's here with Hava explaining to her my court situation. And I'm telling Danny, like, hey, like, Danny, I'm so sorry about this. I literally have court in an hour. I'm kind of freaking out because I don't want them to take away my child, because we're here at our trial date for termination of parental rights, and they may take away my child on this day. And I haven't told Ahava about my court case or anything about it at all. And so Danny's over there with Ahava while I'm on a different island, and he's explaining to her the situation and filling her in about, my involvement with CPS and like the urgency of my termination of parental rights, and what if they take away my child, and me really needing stable housing because the court really needs to see that I have stable housing, because they've been saying that as a reason for not giving me my child back is because I don't have stable housing. But would you like to fill in for her?
So, as a pastor, like Danny had found us on Craigslist. I was advertising a room,
Yes.
and he wanted it, but he couldn't get out of his lease. But we started talking because I'm a pastor, so I always invite everybody to church. But so we made friends, and he called me then. He knew Jennie needed help, so that's how we came into this whole thing. And I had no idea it was at the very end of her case. And so then it took a while because she gave me her social worker's number and so forth, because she's been very, very upset that she just felt like nobody's been listening to her from the very beginning. And I said, I know way too much more probably than I should know about what's really going on, and how that child's birth certificate's worth $1 gazillion, and they can tap into it for as long as they want, as long as they have custody. So Jennie has definitely tried. I've seen consistency of her just blind faith, keep going in what seems like it was an impossible situation. I just give you so much credit, because I don't even know if I could have literally stayed the course like you have, with all of the opposition and just everything. You must have just had your sword of the spirit out crying to the Lord. But so he showed up through Danny, and then you met Uncle Jerry, who's like old enough to be your grandpa, and he's just grandfathered you.
Yes.
Yeah, so he became like a financial guardian angel, and
Yes.
so everybody played a part in this. It's like being in a reality TV show with Jennie. So I said we should just start telling our testimony, because it's all real. Every single thing we're sharing with you, she'll be my witness, I'm her witness. We're going to write this down as a documentary for court,
Yes.
because it's all to God's glory, because none of this was planned. It was all by God's hand.
Literally.
And it's proving God exists literally every single day.
Every single thing.
So, okay,
It's
so.
completely orchestrated by his hands.
Yeah.
Literally. Everything. And then,
So talk about Jerry. So how did Jerry come into the
yes.
picture?
So before I talk about Jerry, there was also a conversation that I wanted to talk about that I had with the Hava. So while I was on the other island for my court, I think Hava had called me, and we had talked about, kind of briefly about the situation, the court case, the CPS involvement, and she then told me over the phone that she had been in a similar situation. No way! And I was like, okay, like, I was speechless. What is this?
Mhm.
There's no way this could have happened in the way it did, like, just by chance. There's no way.
Oh, absolutely. It was totally God. I mean, it was so miracle
All of it.
after miracle after
Yes.
miracle. So, yeah, he showed up for you in a big way. So, yeah, so then tell him about how so you gave me, because I was like, they were ignoring your calls about you now have a lease, because the lease agreement has been such a big bone of contention with CPS. She would find a place to stay, and then it wouldn't be good enough, or what have you, or they had their own CPS case. And, they've already said CPS is understaffed. Emiko, who's the lawyer for this case, she even said to me point blank, they're understaffed. But I have a testimony of why I really got involved in this, because when she told me all these things that had been going on, I felt for her because I know how destructive the current system is. The reason God's people have to show up, and that's why he told me, show up. This is your opportunity to pay it forward. And didn't I prove it to you? I went through the exact same thing. I introduced you to Auntie Joanne the other day, and she said, what did she say to you?
Auntie Joanne said that, she had said that basically, Ahava, when she was going through, what can I say?
It was CPS too.
CPS situation when she was
like 25 years
she
ago.
Was 25 years ago. She was
Joanne was my angel.
a completely different person, and Joanne was like her angel, guiding her through it.
And here, 25 years later, we're still good friends.
25 years later, they're still good friends, and here Ahava is guiding someone else through it.
Yeah. So she didn't believe that it was as like, I'm like, no, when we first got, no, God is so amazing. It's just, it's, people have such a hard time believing he's real. But if you can learn how to step out of you and look at your life like you're watching a 3D movie of your own life. It's like your life review before you die, which is a really good idea. And you can learn to laugh at yourself rather than stay in boohoo victim crying mode all the time, because like it's bad out there, you guys. Like the older you get, the more you realize like the idea you thought the world was before you became quote a grown up isn't the world. It's just everything keeps changing and becoming darker and darker and more controlled and very loveless. So not only are we living in the time of lawlessness, we're also living in the time of lovelessness. So what I believe God is calling, and I've been prophesying on her since I met her. She's like, you wouldn't even look me in the eye when I first met you, like, right? And I'm like, okay, you got to look me in the eye. You got to look me in the eye because it's a window to the soul.
Yes.
Bridget?
I had terrible eye contact when I met Ahava, and she was like teaching me like the importance
slave
of
driver.
Eye contact, and she was being like a slave driver and talking about like how eyes are windows of the soul, and we need to be able to look at each other.
Yes, and we have to be able, when people don't look at each other, there's either two things happening. They're in total fear, which I think is a lot of what's going on for you, and trust.
Yes.
We've talked about the reason the world is experiencing what they're happening with the government out there and this duality, reality, bipolar, left-right paradigm, it's all crazy, is because we're not walking in love with each other. We're narcissists, we're crazy, and we need each other, but not in an unhealthy, narcissistic, empath kind of way. So we need to take some time back, heal, learn God's word of what a healthy relationship looks like.
Yes, so we're not, finding ourselves in trauma bonds that could hurt us and our family or our children.
Right. And the state is in no way, shape, or equipped. They don't help the families. They don't help the mom and dad that are going through the problem at all.
Not at all.
Zero help.
Zero.
So if you have no close, healthy family members around you to help you through a time like that, which is what the church is supposed to be doing, then literally you're going to be eaten by the system and you're going to lose everything. It'll feel like you're dying. But here's the funny part. So her social worker, I'm calling to say, oh, a big piece of the puzzle is a safe place to live. I'm a pastor. I've been a pastor for 20 years on this island. I have introduced her to people who are eyewitnesses of how long I've been a pastor and how many people I have helped. And how many kids do I have, Hanai kids, that you know of already?
Ahava has so many Hanai kids. She has adopted so many people into her home, into her family, into her, her world essentially, and she's helped so many people, and
Well,
I've had such a pleasure to meet.
we're
some of
just
her
going to work right now,
children.
sweetie, on
And
you, just taking care of you. So, like, let's tell them how many people you've met already,
Yes.
like Pastor Luigi and Pastor Tessie.
Pastor Luigi and his wife Tessie. Ahava took me to church last week, and I had the pleasure of meeting these beautiful people.
So,
Pastor Luigi.
How cool is it? How many pastors does he know on Kauai?
And this is the crazy part. So Pastor Luigi knows all of the pastors on Kauai, that's where I came from.
Right. So that's God. That's like huge God.
Yes.
And basically, she's got her friend Jerry that showed up, right? Who's helping her financially, who's committed to, until she got a job and could take care of herself,
Yes.
to helping her stay afloat until that day comes, hopefully sooner than later. But let's tell him about how God showed up for your job. Tell him about what happened with that.
With Jerry is he's like a grandfather to me.
Kind of like another angel.
He's like another angel in our lives, and he is just the most positive person you could ever possibly meet. And
It's like Jesus and it's Jesus and Jerry show.
he's like the Jesus and Jerry show.
For real.
He is always so positive. He's always so in love. He's just so in love with being alive. You know, the gratitude this man possesses
It's
is
amazing. It's
completely
off the hook.
unreal. It's so crazy. But so how Jerry and I met, I would just like to share a little bit of that. So it's a funny story how Jerry and I met actually. So I met this man at the airport. I remember I was stranded at the airport because I missed the last flight out. And this was during the time I was here on Oahu looking for housing, and I had court the next day, or I had like appointments the next day. So I had to go back to Oahu, back to Kauai. I had to fly back, and I had missed the last flight out on this evening. And I remember, I think I had to stay the night at the airport, and the only other person that was at the airport during this time was Jerry. There was like nobody else at the airport. And I remember we kind of just started chatting a little bit, and we were talking, and like I told him about my situation, kind of like, oh, you know, like I'm stranded at the airport right now, like, you know, I'm trying to get like a ticket back to Kauai because I have stuff I need to do there. And I asked him, like, would it be possible, like, if you could, help me, like, order my ticket online, and then I could give you cash for it? Because the funny thing is, during this time, my phone wasn't working, so I wasn't able to get this ticket myself. And Jerry, who I met at the airport, helped me get this ticket, so I was able to fly back in time for court the next day.
That's like first miracle.
That's how me and Jerry met, and the rest is history, really. We started talking a lot. We kind of just hit it off, and he helped me out during this time that I didn't have anywhere to go. And I remember I had a safe place to stay with Jerry, and yeah, he's been an angel in my life, and he's been helping me with my rent money, so until I am able to start work.
Oh, so did you just tell him about the job? Because that was a
Yes.
miracle too. So when you start Monday,
Yes, so I got a new job, and I start Monday, and so Ahava helped me apply for jobs last week, and took me to my job interview the other day, and I basically got hired the next day, and got all the paperwork filled out for the employment process, and I start in a few days. My new job.
yeah. So you guys, this is just seriously the power of the Most High God. Like I said, we started off on a rough accord because Jennie, I think, didn't trust anybody, and I've helped so many people like Jennie in my whole life, and it's kind of been a blessing and a curse because my husband sometimes doesn't, don't do this, don't bring another dog home or a person or whatever, and there's times that we've been, taken advantage of and hurt, but look what they did to Jesus. So it's like, what can we say? That was nothing compared to what he did for us.
Yes.
So the point is, I guess what I'm saying, I'm probably never going to change. My husband will always have to deal with it. That, you know, if there's somebody in need, if we've got the means to help them, then we're going to do our best to help them. Sharing our experience, our hope, our love, our joy, sometimes our purse or our room or whatever we have. But the beauty of, for me, is I've been on this island for 20 years. I've been pastoring people for 20 years. I've just introduced her today to some people I've known. Now they're 36 years old, but I've known them since they were 21. That's how many years I've been ministering into their life. So my life is an open book here on this island. I have a living testimony and a living expression and trust going with Yah. I run a 508c1a ministry trust so that I can stay in the private, but also speak publicly my truth of who I am, which is a living soul, a spirit.
Yes.
I am not an artificially created false reality entity called a legal fiction. That's not who I am.
She's
That
not a robot.
I'm not a robot or a Stuffered wife or an individual or a person or any of those corporately created names. I'm a woman, and I was created by my Father, the Most High God. I call Yahweh, and I call his son Yeshua HaMashiach.
And she was given a new God name.
Yes.
God-given name.
Yes, that's why I go by Ahava, because that's my name that God gave me, that's written on a white stone just for me. And
you know what
Ahava.
it means love.
Yes. So, really, Jenny, what I think of seeing and listening to your entire story and having, like I said, 25 years ago, gone through, and that's when I really started knowing God was real, because I felt the same way. I felt like the whole system is not about helping you get stronger and better so you can be a better mother. It's really about how you can get caught so that we can take your kid away.
Yes.
That's really, to me, and I bet, you know, they'll probably say, well, we have to be this way to give, you know, tough, stringent type. But no, there's no love in it. And when you take a child away from a parent, that is the most traumatic thing ever. So trying to, especially if you happen to be, well, you're super sensitive, so they just ate you for lunch. But like I was too, but I also had an addiction. And I was trying to get like, no, totally not rely on alcohol at all, but I was literally in trauma all the time. And my husband back then was crazy as a bed bug too, because we had met in rehab before we had our kids. So you guys are so much. I mean, but here's the funny part. I laugh all the time, don't I now?
Yes.
And all of these things that just made me cry and cry and cry didn't kill me. It definitely made me stronger.
Yes.
But it also made me study the difference between legal and lawful and understanding who the heck I am. And that I'm an heir, I'm not a taxpayer. I'm an heir in the kingdom of the Most High. And that trust, the Sedekv trust that was set up for us, we're the beneficiaries. We're not the trustees. The government is the trustee responsible for paying for the bills, not us. So we got swindled. We got manipulated. We got lied to. So the only ones who are going to save us, and which I'm so proud of you, because in a very short period of time of working with you,
Yes.
I watched you go from being this very sad, withdrawn, very broken young lady to somebody who's got hope, who's got a smile on her face, who's having absolute faith that God is doing this whole thing, and you are going to get your daughter back. It's already done in his kingdom by his word, and you've got a spiritual family who's all willing to write in writing. They're going to stand with you. You've got the best family on the freaking island. Why would they not want to give your...
I feel so blessed and so grateful, especially to have a Hava support and just being like adopted into her family, it feels like.
Well, give God the Most High the glory. I keep telling you this all, because I can't do what I'm trying to do for you if he wasn't working through me and he didn't create all these amazing anointed and appointed relationships that I've already introduced you to so far.
Yes.
That have any of them been like anything but amazing?
They have all been very, very, very positive and just very uplifting and encouraging.
Good. So you got a law team helping you. You have a mechanic. So you got a new job.
Yes.
You got a place to live. You've got 2 churches, not just one, but if you're going to help me with Revival TV, what I think we are, it's just, doesn't it feel so freeing to let it all out
Yes.
and not have to live in the shame or guilt or any of that stuff from the past? It's gone because we're moving forward with one goal, to be the best mama in the whole world in your new life, that you're so supported.
Yes. And just to touch upon what you were talking about, Ahava, about like the CPS and you know how you were talking about how like the CPS, the department, they don't really work so hard to keep families together, but it really does feel like they rip families apart, like maybe even destroy families even, because what's I find really ironic is how they talk about, wanting to look after the welfare of children and help children and all these things, but in my honest opinion, based off of what I've experienced with CPS, they've done nothing but traumatize my family and traumatize my child, and traumatize me even. Like what they stand for is protecting families, protecting children. I haven't experienced that at all. It's been quite the opposite. Like we've been traumatized and damaged beyond repair, having these people in our lives.
It's permanently harmed.
Yes.
That you could literally go to therapy all your whole life just dealing with the trauma that they have caused on, like you said, it's not just your daughter, it's
be in therapy for the rest of our lives now.
well, it's the unchecked power that they think they have, that they have more rights, because fiction, listen to this is what I've been trying to teach you.
Yes.
They do it through the birth certificate. They do it through your lack of knowledge, and they know you are scared to death, and you get frazzled when you're scared, and you can barely talk. Right? So they're wanting that because then they can take her away. It's like stealing babies legally.
Yes.
Because you don't know your rights. You don't know who you are. You don't know that birth certificate isn't you.
Yes.
It's a set of KV or a social security trust that you are the beneficiary of. You have a entitlement into it, but it's not who you are. You're not a slave. You're not a robot.
Yes.
That's how they get everybody through the system, is through their lack of knowledge. Jesus, it's Hosea. You guys should mark this down at home. Hosea 4:6. It's my second favorite scripture. My first favorite scripture, and this is why, because I didn't even start studying the word until I was 40 years old. That's a long time to be lost, going around the Egypt mountain for 40 years, lost in the wilderness. It really sucks. And I don't want to see you at 40 crying because you lost your daughter into this nightmare system. And that now you even need more therapy, which they're not going to help you with, because once you're over 18, they don't really help you. They never really did help you. The whole system is like, here, Jesus called it, he said in there, it's like, you're settling for the breadcrumbs when the whole entire estate is yours.
Yes.
Check this out. Jesus is the one who told me this. His exact quote is, "In my Father's house there are many mansions.
Yes.
If it weren't so, I wouldn't tell you so," right?
Yes.
Well, what's another word for mansion?
Another word we could also use for mansion would be like a kingdom.
Well, that's true.
Yes.
Well, not mansion per se, a kingdom, but it's, how about estates? They call houses estates.
That's a good one.
So how does the government work? They're running estates.
Yes.
And all the people they're running their estate for are considered in the system, get this,
Wow.
look at me, dead. Because you don't know who you are. They can play games with your mind all day long and get you exactly where you've been, so depressed you don't even know if you want to live or die.
Oh, it's very true. It's almost like psychological.
It is. It's called MK Ultra, mind control. They're doing it through TV, programming, YouTube, all the big stuff. They're programming your mind all the time.
Yes.
So you have to program your mind with Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus, and put the Jesus bubble around you everywhere you go, and just know it's not real. It's like, did you ever see the movie Divergent? We'll
Yes.
have to watch it because she was like, everybody had their little category of what they were good at, but they couldn't put all the pieces together, but
Oh
she
yes,
could.
that's a good movie.
Well,
Yes.
that's the point. When you start waking up to this, I started
That's
waking up.
maybe something we should all watch is this movie Divergent, because it really is almost like a documentary. It's not even really a movie, and it's so like real, because that's really like the world we live in today.
Well, so that's the point. So once you start realizing this, then it's literally everybody who studies like all the things we study.
Yes.
Or like, oh my God, everybody's been deceived. It says that right in the Bible. It says in the end, well, right now we're in the book of Revelation, so it says in the end, the whole world would be deceived. It also says if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. But there's people like me who is like, I grew up with a bar attorney. I saw through it at 16.
Yes.
I've been slaying I've been slaying these guys for years, calling out truth, and they
You've
just
grown up in this world almost, and you've witnessed and observed with your own two eyes the experiences of what it's like to, see how things work, like the inner workings of court. How
Well, it's a game. Even court comes from the word in Latin called circus, and it is
Yes.
one big freaking show, that's for
Yes.
sure. But it's destroying the spirit of God.
It really is, and another thing is that like
That's illegal in God's universe.
in court, if this is something anyone has noticed, it's like they don't really use God's name. They take God out.
No,
of
they're pretending they're God.
Yes.
They're acting instead of God. That's, in other words, they all wear black, right?
Yes.
And then they say all rise. What are they doing? They're raising the dead. It's disgusting.
It is absolutely
It's
vile.
all to intimidate you and make you feel small and intimidated, and you have no rights and no power. And then they've been coercing you, trying to give up your rights, and yet, as timid and sweet and gentle a spirit as you are, they still haven't broken you because you're here with me.
Yes. Exactly.
So, and not just me, I come with a whole team.
Yes.
And I think they're all from heaven. They all are willing to help you and love on you and stand with you. And that's what it's all about. And the sad part is all those people who are practicing all these spells and witchcraft, and that's what to me it is, because spelling, broadcasting, broad like a big old net,
Oh yes.
casting, and what are they casting?
Remember what you were talking about the other day, Ahava, the word television?
Tell, lie, vision.
Yes.
You're being programmed from cradle to grave from when you're
This
2 years old, and they
so
plop you
crazy.
down with an iPad now in front of your face or your phone.
That's so crazy.
So we need to unplug for love and start teaching people who they really are, what those birth certificates really are, how to correct their legal status and get into lawful status,
Yes.
how to get born again, set free, and redeemed, and tell them, like you're going to go in with so much evidence. There is no reason other than, seriously, think about this one. If you've got everything on the checklist that you have to get your daughter back, and then some, like a gazillion support letters and entire churches coming around to help you.
Yes.
Like I said, I think we'll start a GoFundMe too right away. So, Jennie and joy can be manifest, because I want you to write your first book. And I told her, this is the deal, angel girl, is I'm going to help you, but then you're going to go help all those other people out there that are in the same condition, who are feeling hopeless and terrified and scared, and they don't know who to turn to, so that we can be there as a support system and help them legally, lawfully, financially, emotionally, spiritually, and most of all, what I think has been missing from the whole thing is trust and love. Because
we're starting like a revolution, starting with our own home and starting with our own experiences.
So it's a love revolution.
Yes.
But it has to be authentic, because people can say they're doing stuff for your best interest. You've heard that for 4 years. How'd that work out for your best interest, Jennie? Have you ever felt heard at all through any of this?
The court uses this word a lot. My social worker, my attorney, they all use this word a lot. They like to say things like, for your best interest or for your child's best interest. But anytime they say
You
that
mean your
word,
offspring? We don't call it a child.
yes,
It's your offspring. It came from your
offspring,
womb
yes,
and your placenta, which they took and had no permission to take, by the way.
offspring, they use that word, that term, like, we're doing this in your best interest, but, really, it's not really, well, it doesn't feel true only because,
If it doesn't feel true, it's not true.
because, from I can only speak from my personal experience, to be honest, but I've been in CPS for 4 years now, going through this for 4 years now, and I've never really felt like any of them are trying to really help me or my child. And if anything, they've only made our lives extremely difficult, even more difficult than it already was before.
On a scale of 1 being like not so bad and 10 being horrifying of trauma that you feel emotionally and have to go through for the last 4 years,
Yes.
I mean, like I'm sure there's peaks and valleys going through the whole thing, but just on a daily threshold of 1 being it's not so bad and 10 being it's just like nails on the chalkboard, the worst crap that anybody could ever go through. I just feel like I'm going to die
Yes.
because it's so horrible. What is your rating of how CPS treats you and makes you feel through this whole thing on Kauai?
I have been so, I've been so psychologically traumatized by these people that I've actually thought to kill myself a few times before. And the only reason I didn't do it is because I have a child to raise. But I don't have words for how abusive it's been going through the CPS situation. And it's hard for me to talk about.
And didn't they also make accusations of the court that you're in denial of, complete denial of, that have affected the entire case? I mean, you might not want to share with people what that is, but just that there has been, in your total honest opinion, lying on purpose to deceive the court?
Yes, so, I'm so sorry. Yes,
No,
so,
this is honest, you guys. We did not script this. I'm just trying to get her so she can write her documentary of her entire case before they try to take all this away. We're
yes.
going to make sure she has every box checked. I'm going to start her a GoFundMe. I think we're going to call it, so if you guys want to look it up, JENNIE, Jennie NIN Joy, JOY, because my goal is to bring the Spirit of God and all these people who love God together to help this young lady not just keep on her healing process and believing God's going to not only heal her, but we've got all kinds of stuff. Like I said, CPS took 6 days to call herself and myself back when it was a child endangerment call. Like that's a 911. The social worker should have been on it within an hour or two, but it took her 6 days. So they're incompetent.
It's been like the hardest thing I've ever experienced in my lifetime, only because this is my first child. It's my only child, and I really feel like I was robbed of the opportunity to be a mother because they took away 4 years from me and my daughter, and that's like time that I'm never gonna get back.
God's going
And
to give you everything they
like,
stole
watch
back.
her grow up every week. She looks bigger every week that I see her, and it's like all this time I don't get to be a mom, and this is my only child. I'm sorry.
It's okay, sweetie. This is the trauma, and this is very real trauma. This is not just, I experienced it 25 years ago as well. Same thing. They do this to broken people emotionally, that they can get a hold of your freedom, really. It's not just taking the child, it's taking your freedom too, because now you're jumping through all these things and they make up, just like they plant
Totally.
evidence, they make up stuff, they put you through stuff, they do trauma, because if you finally
And
cave.
it feels like literally hell. That's literally what it feels like going through this.
Yeah. See, that's why, like I said to her, we're going to go through this together. We're going to go step by step and make sure before you go into there, we have got all the ammunition to absolutely squash down and close down the case and take it to a higher level, actually, to the governor and mayor's office or to President Trump and Pam Bondi for what's going on here in Hawaii. This is a small island, and where she's at is even a smaller island. And there's a lot of people with authority and power over there. That young lady who got involved to help us too stepped up out of the blue, who's helping with the whole human trafficking issue. And we started learning a whole lot about what's going on. And people know what's going on, but they're afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of stuff going on within and without that work together, the government. So there's good people on the inside, there's good people on the outside. But there's also bad people on the inside, and there's bad people on the outside.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you guys, if you guys know and you're turning a blind eye to these kind of things going on, you got to face Jesus by yourself. And I wouldn't want to be you. If you are any way, shape, or form of these injustices, because there is no justice. We're in a time of lawlessness. There's no law. They're human, literally, if you think about it. I mean, what are they doing? They're moving humans through paper, literally. They talk about human trafficking, putting people into Matson containers. What about moving it through paper and taking all those bonds and turning living souls, living children into SEDA trusts and Social Security trusts that they can go pledge on Wall Street before they even get the child out of the hospital? That is basically paper trafficking. I don't care what you want to call it.
It's
So
like legalized kidnapping.
it
trafficking.
is legalized kidnapping. That's why they call it the law of the sea. Maritime Admiralty is for pirates.
Yes.
And they're pirating the souls of the living men and women for
That
resources.
is very so true.
It's very sick.
It's disgusting.
So at any point, are you ever going to give up on God's green earth, ever, your parental rights to these poachers, Maritime Admiralty pirates?
I can honestly say that, you know, I will never give up on my offspring.
Offspring,
And that,
which was born a living child, correct? It wasn't a dead, you
she
know,
was born a living child,
infant.
and
And she was an offspring, not a parcel, a chattel, a person, any of the above.
and I can definitely say that, you know, that I won't give up on her and that I will die trying.
You're not going to have to die. You've already died a gazillion times every day emotionally dealing with all this.
I'm not really gonna die because she needs a mom. But
No, nobody really dies. You're eternal, but you're either going to live in hell. All you guys who are following the crazy system of the world and saying there's no God, you're about to find out there is. But y'all should repent, because you're killing yourselves. You're destroying all of you people who went into social work saying, I want to help people. Listen to her. Put yourself on the other side. I've been there. She's been there. I've been a pastor for 20 some years on Oahu. I hear these stories all the time, and we step in and do the best we can. But they are using those children's birth certificates for money. It's all about, everything's about the money on this planet. So you have to learn the truth. You have to be set free. Jesus, Nicodemus said, how can I be born again? Gee, I can't go back up the womb. That's true.
and you don't want to wait until your house is on fire to start, you know, practicing. Because a lot of people wait until their house is on fire, literally and metaphorically, and by then it's already too late.
But look at you. Look how God showed up in the last hour and brought you a whole army of the kingdom of heaven to fight for you.
I feel so grateful.
Yeah. You just need to be on your knees every night, rolling around, laughing with Jesus. I love you so much. Thank you for showing up for me. Thank you for showing up. He's showed up huge.
Yes. Hallelujah.
All right. I think that's good for today. So this is Ahava, and this is Jennie, and we are going to be just sharing our journey. Which we also will be sharing Jerry and Jesus' journey with you guys.
Yes.
But it's just one day at a time, true testimonials. We're just trying to speak from our heart what we've experienced, our strength, our hope, the truth we've learned about the legal system versus a lawful system under common law, how to take back your power and authority legally and lawfully,
Yes.
and not be ignorant, because my people, Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Okay, so we're going to end this, and then we'll start another YouTube. That's Ashley. Thanks, guys. Aloha.
Thank you, guys.